Good evening and welcome to Flight Sim Outtakes. So tonight I wanted to put my whatever I know about IFR based on my experience here in these planes these last couple of weeks, my IFR knowledge to the test. So I want to take a quick flight from my nearby home airfield, Dutchess County Regional, to the Orange County Airport, which is across the river, a little bit past Stewart Stewart Air Base. So it's a quick flight, but I do have full-on snowstorm and on the weather setting, so it's going to be IMC conditions. I'm definitely not going to be able to use the outside as a reference during this flight because I'm going to be in snow clouds pretty much the whole way. I'm going to have to follow an IFR path down to the landing. I'll probably write down the minimums to get below the snow, because you can see when you're a couple hundred feet in the air and stuff like this, but once you're higher than that, all visibility goes away. So really quick, I just wanted to type in the flight plan here. So I don't have anything in here right now other than my home field, which we have here, KPOU. So we are going to go ahead and enter in Orange County Airport as the end. I believe it's KMGJ. There it is, Orange County. Okay, 18 miles, not bad. Now we're going to load the ILS approach on runway 4. And what that does is gives us a number of waypoints, so it navigates us right into the ILS. Take a look at the flight plan here. Going straight across the river. And then we're going to loop around by this airport here, HUO, and then come up at Settle, and then we're in the IFR path, and the landing is right up here at KMGJ. So that's the flight path. We'll see if we can get it done in these conditions. So I did accomplish the landing, but I spawned in the sky at that point in time. So I haven't done a flight like this with absolutely no visibility from beginning to end. So it's going to be interesting. So here we go. We're in the Baron. I haven't really adjusted this thing for winter use, so I'm assuming I have to drop the pitot heat on. I'll start there. Okay. I have not, intimately familiarized myself with this plane, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants, quite literally here. I don't claim to have any special knowledge on here other than what I've gained just playing around with it the past couple of weeks. So I could very easily, fall out of the sky because I forgot something and something froze here, but we'll just have to find out. That's kind of the fun of the sim. It allows you to learn things like that, kind of learn lessons like that without paying, the ultimate price. So I think that's what's neat about it. You can experiment. You can have fun and you can learn a little something at the same time. So here we go. We're in the sky, climbing slightly. I want to turn myself toward the flight path there. At 1300. They say your feel really accounts for nothing in IMC conditions where you really can't see anything. I can't account for that, but it is challenging just trying to stay on the ball here between the vertical speed, looking at your HSI, and so I'm going to go ahead and try and get autopilot going on here. I'm going to bring my off here. I wonder if I can switch this over to nav mode. Okay, it's going to grab right onto the flight path. Okay, so this can literally sit on autopilot right up until I gotta start worrying about the descent for the approach. Outside here. You can just see something. Just see a little something looking off to the side here, but looking straight ahead like this, there's nothing invisible, so I'm relying on the instruments to get me there at this point. Props are running at the limit there, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Everything I'm learning about this plane, I'm learning as I go. So I've been making mistakes. There have been times I've been on a flight like this. I just fall out of the sky. I think that had to do with a stall, but the stalls on this are rough, and usually, if I'm playing around, I'm only a couple thousand feet off the sky. So in this particular plane, when one side gives out in the stall, it goes down like a rock. So in those times I've been a couple thousand feet up. I haven't even had time to even so much as attempt to start recovering. So it's a rough plane. If you start having trouble at a low altitude, at least according to what's in the sim here. Most people have been agreeing that these planes, the Baron here and the Bonanza, are pretty good in terms of realism, features, and things like that. I certainly have run into random trouble with them, so it's probably quite true. I think it's interesting, it's fun in one hand if you're looking at a manual, trying to, and there are checklists on here. You can go down the checklist for everything right in the tablet here, accessible down here. That's where you can activate failures and things of that nature as well. So I haven't explored that tablet too much. I just been kind of concentrating on learning these avionics, what I can about them. All right, so we're going to be flying right over our final landing field. Just a moment here. now it's pretty hard to see anything down there. Whew. Really in some fog. Been 100 different stories on, Blanco Lirio or pilot debrief or whatever have you, of, pilots getting themselves into situations in weather like this, and they're up there trying to hand fly, relying on their instincts, and, it's almost like every other story is like that. Unprepared going into IMC weather. It just seems like so many, pilots that get lost to accidents, it's not necessarily that they don't know what they're doing. It's that they're just making very, very bad decisions. Whether it's to fly in any kind of weather, I couldn't imagine wanting to take up any one of my loved ones in any kind of rain or anything like that for any reason whatsoever. Just from the sim, I know that, one mistake is all it takes, and you can go right down, and then it's up to God at that point, whether you make it or not. Especially in a situation like this where you cannot see anything until maybe the last few hundred feet, if that. And now we can see some lights again here, but that comes and goes. So this is, I don't know if it's southern Orange. I think we're south of Middletown, New York, over here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what township we're looking at right now. But even in the fog, it's kind of neat. Okay, 600 RPM, that's okay. Engine temperature's looking fine. Everything looks good. Cabin temp 17 degrees. Might be a little chilly. Where is cabin heat in here? There we go. Let's see if that temperature reacts now. After a little while, it was at 17. Well, if we're truly in nav mode, this should start turning any moment here. Go. just seems silly to rely on anything but the instruments at this point. Now I'm back to not being able to see anything outside. So I get some kind of a sense sometimes with some lights, and then it goes away. So really, it's not worth anything when it's coming and going. So I think relying on the instruments is the way to go. I'm going to go ahead and line this up for our final runway fix, which is 4. Not 100% certain of the exact altitude at KMGJ. $357. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and load up. A little bit all over the place, but okay, let's just get steady there. We'll start a slow descent. I could probably activate the ILS. Is all right. Do that. I didn't have nav mode on, so I missed a turn. And then I pulled it out of autopilot and I started figuring out I was going to do it myself. Fortunately, Fortunately, I realized that was a mistake before it was too late. This is rough. So now I want to switch over to nav mode. Alright, it's in nav mode. Glide slope is already there. I don't know if this plane will follow the glide slope if I turn on approach mode. Drop the gear. Approach flaps. I'm going to maintain between 90 and 100. Okay, the glide slope is still not coming down. Pitched up to hold our altitude. Okay, let's see. I have it in approach mode. Glide slope appears to be lit on the, and it is going to come down with it. Wow. Okay, so another thing I can take off my plate. Okay, we're looking good. Coming in a little hot. Okay, we're at 900 feet and going down. Feet at 95 knots, 700 feet, still no sign of the runway. Speed is steady, 600 feet. Oh boy. There's the runway. Okay, visual on the runway. We're going to glide it in now. made it down. And for the first time ever, I successfully used the approach mode. I hadn't even tried it before. We're gonna blow this, but I'm not concerned with that. I'm more concerned with the fact that we just made it down. So yes, if you have the ILS dialed in and you use approach mode, it will follow the path in for you. So you can just watch, monitor your speed until you see the runway, and you can take over from there. Very cool. First time I did a IFR flight from start to finish. It was a short one, but I couldn't see a thing, so the instruments did the work, and I made it down in one piece. So successful flight. Have a good night.